So let's talk about the top 10 defining moments in sports in the year 2023. A lot has happened, but obviously it has to begin with Neeraj Chopra. He became the first Indian to win gold, if you remember, at the World Athletics Championships. And he had a best throw of 88.17 meters. Sandeep was there when this event happened. Sandeep, how do you recall Neeraj Chopra's journey and particularly this status that he has achieved in this sport and been able to inspire so many people?
I think, well, the only word that you can probably use for Chopra is phenomenal. I mean, one of those disciplines least expected to pick up a medal. And I think I was researching a bit on it to write a particular piece a couple of days back, I think yesterday. And you tell yourself which is that discipline that's going to get you the medal, whether it's the Olympics or at the World Championships, and in your mind it's always the middle distance or probably the long distance. But for me it was always the middle distance that'll probably break that glass ceiling out there, and then suddenly out of the blue completely you have Chopra. Though the signs were there in a way when he won the Junior World Championships, but you still don't expect a Junior World Championship to go and crack an Olympic podium or rather a gold. So I think the gold was surprising to a lot of people, including me. It was shocking that we finally achieved something. But when he picked up that World Championship silver medal at Eugene, it was a confirmation of the fact that yeah, he is special and he's a phenomenal athlete. And then when he goes to Budapest and picks up a gold with that kind of pressure riding on him, I think it was probably one of those moments. You asked me to pick up top five moments in Indian sport, and I'll pick one of those: the Olympic as well as the World Championship silver.
Let's decode Neeraj Chopra a bit. It's all very well to say that he's a great looking guy. He speaks well. He knows how much to speak. His PR skills are phenomenal. He's the golden boy, and so many other adjectives are used. But we all know that champions are made through hard work, through grit. Now, the kind of effort that Neeraj puts in has been appreciated on social media by people like Michael Johnson, who appreciated his video of him training, going over hurdles. So he said that look at the kind of effort this boy is putting in, the running, the training, also the way the federation has backed him by sending him overseas most of the time, and the kind of training that he is receiving. So when, to cut this whole long story short, when we talk about the effort of an athlete, what do you see happening in Neeraj Chopra's case that didn't happen earlier?
I think belief, it comes when you start winning at a particular level, which is juniors. And I think for Chopra, it was that when he won that Junior World Championships, if everybody can recall that particular throw, which is so synonymous with the way he comes in and throws a javelin and falls to the ground, picks himself up. I think that was the moment when I saw it, honestly, and when I met him probably a couple of months later after he won the Junior World Championships. I think in my I didn't say it at that time and probably maybe discussed and had conversations with people, with journalists, but I did say that he's going to win an Olympic medal. I really didn't feel that it could be a gold because at that time, the competition was really coming up and a lot of factors came in. But, I'll just go back to that word you used that he puts in a lot of effort and there is recognition. I think there is recognition, and I don't think there is recognition simply because that this is a once in a 4 year phenomenon. The Asian Games, the World Championships is now once in a 2 year. The Olympics is once in a 4 years. But fitness synonymous or the athlete that we normally say, oh, he's supremely fit is Virat Kohli. Chopra doesn't figure in your conversations when it comes to fitness, simply because he's just not there. He's not that billboard. He's not there playing every week or every second week. So not Virat's fault, honestly. But I think a little bit more publicity from the Athletics Federation, from Sports Authority of India, where they can actually make him a kind of an icon, where most sub juniors or juniors can look up and say that, this guy works 300 days a year. Let's put it that way. And this is the routine he follows on a daily basis: 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever that may be. If that could be highlighted more than the throws he's doing, because the throws are now on YouTube, but the rest of the stuff honestly is not on YouTube. If that can come out, it could cause a very different impact on a junior athlete, honestly. And I think that's where probably it lacks a bit.
You have certain views on Neeraj Chopra's training, particularly the overseas stint, and the fact that when you last spoke to Neeraj, you yourself said that offline, of course, that he is very fixated on his training schedule, the nutrition, what he has to eat, what he has to avoid, and the fact that he likes training overseas. So, this word overseas, how important is it for an athlete like Neeraj, and obviously for others who wish to emulate him, not only in javelin but in other sport?
I think very important. If Sriram Singh in 1976 would have had a 1 year stint abroad, or probably even a 2 year stint abroad, he would have been on the podium in 76. If Usha would have had a massively long stint abroad just before 84 400 hurdles, instead of that fourth place, I think she would have picked up gold. And the same goes for Shiny, the same goes for so many athletes who've come in and gone in the middle distance. I can recall Charles Borromeo in 82. I sat in the stands at Nehru Stadium, coming out of school, watching him win the 800. And at that time, you normally thought that why are these athletes not doing something at the Olympic level? It's all about training. And I think somewhere Chopra realized this much, much earlier. One, he's not a person who's fixated on what the gold has brought him. He's fixated on the process that the gold came by. Normally we all fall by the wayside because we get so caught up with the crores of rupees that's coming in, with all the adulation and the kind of reception he receives in this country, even from big time cricketers who always want to be around him, or actors or actresses, because our entire system is governed by cricket and movies from Mumbai. So I think he probably understood that if he remains in this country and trains, even with those foreign coaches, it's really not going to happen because he won't have the time. So I think that realization has probably spurred him to train abroad. Plus, I think the environment of speaking to a very different class of people. When I say class, I mean coaches and athletes, I think also gives him a certain perspective as to where he is. And I think that has been brilliant. And if that could be followed, if honestly that could be followed by the AFI and the SAI and the ministry, by coming in and say, okay, this is the cream, this is the 10 or 15 athletes we need to send abroad. So I think more medals will follow. It's already being done, and you can see the results at the Asian Games and all of that, which we'll discuss further. But I think this is a very classic example of somebody who's understood what it requires to be on the podium.
Okay, let's move on because we have nine more points to discuss, and they are all important athletes and important moments. So the next one is Nikhat Zareen, and she defends her world champion crown. She's become a star boxer. She defended a world title. Nikhat defeated two-time Asian champion of Vietnam 5-0 to secure the gold in the 50 kg category. So Sandeep, when we speak about Nikhat Zareen, would you say that she is the most outstanding boxer India has produced in the female division in the last couple of years, even possibly has much greater potential than even Mary Kom?
I think so. I think simply not only looking at the style, the way she moves in a ring, the way she uses her defense, and then converts that, in a split second into this whole offensive barrage that she can bring in. But largely, again, the Neeraj example comes in. Is she well prepared for an Olympic medal, a gold? I really don't think so. Is she really going all out? I don't know, because in our country we don't get the space, we don't get those newspaper pages where you can go watch training and then you can ask somebody, can I write 2,000 words on this, or probably shoot a 15-minute video and will you put it on? I don't know, it's not going to get the views. But the issue here is also about the views. The issue here is also about whether you are training to be in the Olympics, to be on the podium, or get a gold medal. I think she has all the qualifications, and whatever we saw at the Asian Games, though she lost there, but she has that thing where even if she does a few inches more in terms of, or a few, or if she can go a particular length in terms of her training and get in those kind of bouts, get in that kind of competition abroad, get to fight those very boxers, if not those very, but at least on the same level. I think that gold medal could be harnessed by her in so many ways. But in terms of pure talent, pure skill, she's right on top with Mary Kom and the others. I mean, I probably put her a little higher than Mary Kom in terms of fighting prowess. There's always a prowess among boxers, and I think Nikat has that prowess where, as I said, she turns defensive and then offensive in a matter of just split second, and I think that's brilliant in terms of a boxer.
Sandeep, when it comes to boxing, we've all been fans of Muhammad Ali at a point in time and the greats, and seen some of their bouts on TV, whether it was against Joe Frazier or later with so many other boxers. Then, of course, the brutal power of someone like Mike Tyson. But my point here is that how have these girls come up, like Nikhat Zareen, like Lavlina Borgohain? What is it that sets them apart, and how is India suddenly discovering such talent?
No, no, we had these talents. It's not that we are suddenly discovering them. They were already being discovered. But I think the main thing is how much a push from the inside an athlete can give himself or herself. And I think this bunch that has suddenly come out, number one, there was a very good foundation in terms of the Cuban boxers who were coming here as coaches and setting it up. So you already had men's boxing that was just there. They just were not able to cross over that line. Of course, Vijender did, but there were a whole bunch of boxers like Thapa and all who could really have gone the full distance. And I think a lot of inspiration came from there. But more so, I think a little more of money that came into coaching, more of traveling, more of competitions, all of that is paying dividends. And success, it's a little addictive also for a lot of athletes who believe that they have the belief in themselves and the talent. And once that addiction comes into you, then I need to be more on the podium. I need to pick up a silver, translate it into gold, or pick up a bronze and translate it into silver. I think that's where this particular bunch, or this particular entire generation of boxers and athletes, you can see a little more determined, a little more wanting to get onto that podium. Earlier it used to be participation, but now I think they are more hungry, and that is the difference that you can see in almost every one, not only the women boxers.
Okay, moving on to badminton and our doubles champions Sachi, Satvik, and Chirag. I was myself very privileged to see them win that last bout, and when they became the number one pair. Also very privileged to have spoken to Leroy Disa and Pradeep Gandhi, who are stars of our generation, and the medals still eluded them. Not as much as what is happening now, but they were very, very supportive, very happy, and it was wonderful to speak with them the way Sachi have come to the fore. Again, Sandeep, your thoughts on badminton becoming a premier sport in India, and let's focus on Sachi. What makes them so exceptional?
I think over the years, I mean, from the time of Suresh Goyal and Natekar to Prakash and everybody, we focused so heavily on singles that we even forgot that there was something called a doubles that existed. Of course, Leroy and company won, I think, at the Asian Games in '82, and then you had Jwala also picking up a world championship bronze in doubles. But the doubles, in fact, in world badminton, I mean, keep the singles on the side. The world badminton doubles, whether it's the Olympic Games or the World Championships or the Asian Games, which is highly competitive, is probably the most closely fought of all. I think doubles combinations across Indonesia, China, Korea, Japan have been more than exceptional. I mean, you look at the Sidek brothers, I think they were the ones who brought glamour to doubles, in so many ways. I mean, I still remember reading about them and trying to understand what are the Sidek brothers all about. I mean, they were so good in the doubles that you almost felt that they were joined at the hip. And how could they understand each other so much? I think when you look at the Indian pairing now, I think that's what you get, the communication. And once that is established, once that is figured out by a coach, and I think again, if we can take the discussion into coaching systems, I think over the last 10 years, you've seen some exceptional coaches coming to India, sitting in Hyderabad and other places, understanding what our players are all about. Because what happens in the past was first you want to play singles, and then, okay, fine, you're reaching a quarterfinal in, I'm talking of domestic, and then not entering the semis or the final. So then what do you fall back upon? You fall back upon doubles. So doubles became a kind of an afterthought. I think doubles has probably now being taken not as an afterthought. I think a lot of juniors will come in probably thinking that they can now emulate and play doubles. And doubles is exciting. I mean, whether it is tennis or badminton, it has always been exciting. Yes, it's not been kept in that same, a golden wraparound in a way that, that it is exceptional because you win a singles. Yes, singles will always be the best in a way in terms of winning an Olympic gold or a world championship gold, but doubles, this too have brought excitement back into doubles in this country. And I think that is a very superb example of how juniors can now follow them, because whatever we do, whatever wins happen at the top range, I think at the back of your mind, you also have to understand that are juniors following that or not. And I think here you will see so many more people wanting to try out doubles and win.
I'm glad you mentioned about the coaches and what a big difference their coaching has made to this entire young generation. I do recall in that chat with Leroy Disa and Pradeep Gandhi, they made two very important points. They really praised Matthias Bo as the coach of Sachi, and a phenomenal job he's done. And the second point they said is that in our time, हमारे ज़माने में तो हमें ये भी नहीं पता होता था whom we are going to play with. So Leroy said that I was just lucky that it just so happened that Pradeep was available, and we practiced for a while, and they went on to win the medal at the Asian Games. And when you listen to them, you realize how far this game has traveled. But let's talk about Matthias Bo, and what do you think?
I think the very idea of bringing in coaches is just not about bringing in coaches. I think when coaches are picked and brought in, and this is again a change that has happened in the last 5 to 8 years, irrespective of the discipline or the sport, you've picked up coaches who actually understand not only the process and the system, but also understand picking the right player for the right moment across disciplines. You look at football, you look at, I mean, why not even cricket? You look at the junior systems, you look at hockey, you look at boxing, you look at track and field. The selection of coaches is not now just because it's your CV. The selection of coaches is also passion, number one. Number two, the scouting mind. The scouting mind has to be exceptional, that you can pick a player and be flexible enough to admit even after 6 months or 8 months that I want to change the system here, bring in a different player and probably play him. Because at the end of the day, the results matter. It's not about I feel emotional about a player because I selected him, and in case he's failing, I still want to stick to him. No, I think that's where exceptional coaching comes in, where they pick players, keep them tough, keep them hard in terms of the competition going, and are also willing to change. Because unless you're willing to rotate those very players and understand who fits into a world championship, who fits into a 500, who fits into a particular tournament, I think coaching really doesn't happen. And I think that particular angle that we now look at, that even if it is Sable, for example, in track and field, he needs a particular form of a coach. He can't just go with any coach. Some coach who understands why he keeps doing a middle of the pack running in a track and field also needs to understand why he doesn't go ahead. I think that mindset when a coach brings in, and that is what Matthias brings into badminton, that he can figure these two out, make them play so brilliantly and beautifully. And I think that particular point I think needs to be made out, that coaches also have to be picked properly.
And how much credit would you give to someone like Matthias Bo to this doubles team?
the entire credit. I mean, I know it'll be nice to say BAI, it'll be nice to say Sports Ministry, it'll be nice to say all of that. But I think at the end of the day, those are institutions, and institutions need to back coaches, institutions need to back players. You can't just keep giving credit to an institution. Yes, you need to, but at the end of the day, the grind is there with the coach and the players. And I think 60 to 70% of this particular, irrespective of the discipline, needs to go to the players and the coach.
Okay, let's move on to cricket. And our man here in contention is Shubman Gill, the new sex symbol. India obsesses about which Sarah is he dating. So, and he sends millions of women's hearts aflutter when he comes into bat. All that is great. But he's also become the number one ODI batsman, and he's replaced none other than Babar Azam. So, Sandeep, when it comes to someone like Shubman Gill coming into play, and when you look at his background, of course, in every sport, talent, the core talent has to be there. But there is something very cool, very easy about Shubman Gill's batting. And I was watching him play in Australia, and someone like Ian Chappell was in the com box, and how much praise he had for Shubman Gill. And he kept on saying that there's so much of talent in this boy, that he has so much grace, he has so much time. So, what are your thoughts about Shubman Gill?
I mean, two words. I mean, he's beautiful to watch. He's not only exceptional as a batter, but he's beautiful to watch. He's more like art, you know. His artwork out there on the pitch. I mean, it's a cliche to say he has so much time, but so much time is not just because he trained for so much time. I think it's built into him. It comes very natural to him, and the flow. When you see him bat, you also as a fan or as somebody who's watching Shubman Gill, you don't keep calculating runs whether he's got to 50 or 70, because suddenly when he's on a song, you suddenly realize he's on 85, and you couldn't figure out how those 85 came because they were so well constructed, and the ease with which he bats. I think we all love players, again, badminton, tennis, football, the ease with which they play, the ease with which they control the ball or control a shuttlecock or control a tennis ball. He's so easy with it. But your first question or your point on ODI, those rankings somehow, I can't understand those rankings. Top ODI, top T20, top Test match. I think, like football's Ballon d'Or, I think if cricket can come up with something where you have the player of the year, whether he's a bowler or a batter or a wicketkeeper or a fielder, I think if somebody can create something like that, which everybody votes in for, and then create something which is the best batsman of the year or the best bowler of the year, I think that would be exceptional in those terms. But these rankings somehow don't mean anything. I think after the South Africa hammering, do they mean anything anymore? But yes, I mean, that's just a match. And Gill has performed across formats. He's performed in the IPL so well that you sometimes wonder, I mean, whether this guy can play Test cricket to which level, whether he can play ODI to which level. And then when you see him in an IPL, you're so shocked that he's the same guy who, with so much grace, can easily hit a six. With so much grace, he does his drives, his on drive, he's immaculate. There is hardly a batsman that you would right now, and I can say this, even if you have Rohit out there, who's quite amazing, Shubman gives you a very different feeling.
And like that ad he does on chai कि व्यू मस्त है तो शुभमन गिल भी मस्त है. हाँ, इसके ऊपर तो और कोई दो विचार हो ही नहीं सकता है. आगे बढ़ते हैं. This time Pankaj Advani, he won the World Billiards Championship for the 26th time, and this is staggering. He defeated his compatriot Saurav Kothari in the final. Advani also defeated Kothari in a rematch of last year's title clash in Kuala Lumpur. And he had won this his first world title in this competition way back in 2005. Your views, Sandeep, on Pankaj?
I think the lack of space that he gets says a lot about how we perceive sport. I think, of course, we are a one sport nation, at the max, probably two or three sport. But the lack of space that we have given him, I mean, we as journalists and media houses and everybody. I think I hate to use the word sad, but this man has not only, I mean, for his 26th or 27th time, he's proved this every time that, you just can't win championships unless you really want to, or you are training for it, or you're hungry for it. I mean, he's gone beyond a particular line where, it's just him now. But at the same time, it also says a lot about the instant gratification culture that we all live in. The T20s and all of that. I can understand most of pool, snooker, billiards. These are games that definitely take hours sometimes. And if they are slow, I'm not saying they're exceptionally fast, and then you sit there and you watch. The times have also even changed in the UK, where most of this was really big sport in terms of snooker and pool. Numbers are coming down. But there is a point that I would like to make here is that it's not about making billiards popular. It's not about making snooker popular or a particular sport popular, because it doesn't happen that way. We have such huge crowds at the airport. We have such huge crowds at the railway stations, and I'm talking of the main railway stations. Why are we not hosting these championships out there? You have crowds that are sitting there for a couple of hours waiting for flights or trains. And I think if we take them there, and the reason I'm saying this is because I think the Diamond League, after the World Championships in Budapest, the next Diamond League was, I think, in Zurich, probably, or yeah, Zurich. The pole vault competition was held at the railway station in Zurich. So people who were waiting for trains and all, they were also watching it. They were also trying to understand what's happening. For people who probably didn't follow track and field, this was something that they were looking and feeling good about it. That okay, fine. So I think if we can take it there, I think you get audiences, you get so many people watching and getting curious about the sport. Imagine in a crowd of 600 people watching at an airport, if 100 are kids and they're watching this guy Advani play, and when he comes, they take a selfie, they kind of, try and figure out who this man is, and then they go and try and check it on Google. What increases here? The sport's popularity increases, even if it is 500 or 1,000 or 2,000. But I think that's where people have to come in and create new arenas for sport which are not getting popular. But at the end of it, this man is not only talented, he's as I said, he's crossed the line and he's gone into a rarefied atmosphere where none exists except him.
Very well put, and we really hope that more of the spotlight would be on Pankaj Advani in this coming year. Moving on, you were at Hangzhou, Sandeep, during the Asian Games, and we had another jumla ki is बार 100 medal पार जो हमने पार कर लिए और in a country of jumlas, it's very, very important that at least we achieve the milestone. So India finished with 107 medals in Hangzhou with 28 golds, 38 silver, and 41 bronze. Just your take on the medals, and was it so important to cross 100? And if so, what is the message that has trickled out?
No, I think it's extremely important to cross these milestones. Uh, Not only because China crosses them regularly, not only because Japan is right up there, but I think as a nation, when you're figuring yourself out in terms of trying to reach that Olympic podium, conquering or getting across a particular line in Asia is equally important. The more medals you win, the more aspiration you are pushing down to the junior levels, who probably feel that okay, fine, you crossed 100 this time, can we do 150 next time? And I probably will be among that 150 who's going to win. I think that trickle down effect is huge. It happened when China came back into the Olympic fold. They picked up massive amounts of medals. And I still remember being in 2004 Athens Olympics, speaking to a few Chinese journalists who were asking us, how many medals have you won? And, we didn't have too many. I didn't have answers to give them. So I used to ask them that, how are you guys doing your stuff? Because you are winning gold, multiple gold medals, so many silvers and so many bronze medals. So their answer was that, we don't interview the bronze medalists. So we try and do the gold and silver. But but the point was that we wondered, कि in the sense कि क्या हमें भी 50 ब्रॉन्ज मेडल एक दिन मिल जाएंगे, फिर वही 50 ब्रॉन्ज मेडलिस्ट को आप इंटरव्यू करोगे. And that I remembered in Hangzhou, because everybody was not going out to interview everyone, because at the end of the day, when you have 100 plus medalists, you again try and pick those ones whose performances have been exceptional, or the ones who have repeated the performance, or somebody
Right.
who's picked up a medal in an event which has not been there before. So I think Hangzhou was a huge, huge milestone in Indian sport.
So let's speed the process up because we have time constraints. So the next one on my list is the 4 into 400 India relay team. I had a terrific time interviewing Amod Jacob, and young man, absolutely full of beans, great sense of humor. और उनसे मैंने जब पूछा था कि अमोज जो लास्ट आपने रेस जीता है उससे पहले क्या हुआ, तो ही से बड़ी गालियां पड़ी थी सर से. You know who that sir was, but that apart, the team comprises Mohammad Anas Yahya, Amod Jacob, Mohammad Ajmal, and Rajesh Ramesh. And they have done a phenomenally brilliant job, and they have this enormous potential. So, in a nutshell, how do you analyze that, and where have these boys come from?
No, they were always there. I think our relay teams have exceptionally been good for a long time. Even the women relay teams have really done well in the past. I think it's number one. It's a very technical event in terms of the baton being passed and all of that. And how do you figure out which lap when you coming back into that straight one lap? How do you figure all of that out? The 4 into 400 and the 4 into 100. The 4 into 100 is always very exciting, but I would say one thing here is that if you think we're going to win a medal somewhere at the World Championships or somewhere in the Olympic Games, I'm going to put my money down on the relay. I think the relay is where exceptional coaches can be brought in, exceptional athletes who may not be great 400-meter runners or great sprinters, but can be formidable 400 into 400 relay runners. I think because your talent in terms of not sprinting too hard can easily be covered up in a relay because you're technically very, very good. And I think this is one event where we should be doing exceptionally well in the future.
Okay, coming to your favorite sport, chess, and we have Pragnanda, and the Indian chess grandmaster Pragnanda, at just 18 years old, became the youngest player to reach the FIDE World Cup final in August, following an incredible run where he defeated the world number 2 and world number 3. He's come in for a lot of praise from world champion Magnus Carlsen, and of course, India went berserk when he and his sister both did extremely well. Your thoughts, Sandeep?
Again, what happened in the past from the Thipses and Anands and Baruas, I mean, this whole aspirational value of trying to be something at an extremely young age, I think, is best symbolized or best shown by chess in so many ways across women and men. I don't think any sport is actually doing so much at the bottom level in terms of sub juniors as much as chess has done over the years. And I think there's one guy who I've always really liked interviewing in the past has been Vishwanathan Anand because of the kind of answers he gives. And again, a pointer. You spoke about Neeraj going abroad. Anand went abroad at the right times, based himself near Barcelona and near Madrid, and that is how the entire culture changed. The entire culture of creating a world champion and keeping him there, so that we can all look up and say that okay, fine, I want to be that. And today, what you see in chess is about yes, I want to be there, and I want to be that, and I want to be him, and that is why I have become him. I think that is very, very important.
Okay, going back to cricket, and this we have discussed enough on NNI Sports as and when it happened. So India lost the 2023 World Cup final. My point here is, before I toss to you, Sandeep, is that I remember Shane Warne talking about Monty Panesar in the past, and he said this bloke played the same test 60 times. And Monty Panesar, when we had invited him for the Ekamra Sports Lit Fest, said that it really cost him his career. And he said it was very unfair on Shane Warne to have said that. But that apart, I just felt as this World Cup went on, India did the same thing very, very well, but it was just the same. There were no surprises, no change, nothing. May have cost them the final. What do you think?
No risk, no gain. I always believe that when it comes to a semis and a final. If you're going to play a same system, the same process, and the same, I to an extent, of course, I'll say the same team with different conditions. I think you're bound to fail, because understand, the other team in the final is not stupid. I mean, they watch a team, and India, irrespective of the final, just keep the final on the side. This was such a balanced side. This was such It was playing great cricket at that point of time. And when you come into a final, as I said, if you're not willing to take risks, if you're not willing to change your system, even if it is by 10% or 15% or 20%, which, believe me, every team game that goes to a final always does it, always, unless you really are up against somebody who you think is an absolutely weak side. But anybody who comes into a final, and Australia was never a weak side. I think they gathered through the tournament and they figured themselves out, and they brought a different form of cricket or a different form of brand into that final to be able to counter us. And as I said, no risk, no gain, and we faced the consequences for that.
Yes, unfortunately, we did. Now, the last pit stop is the wrestling protest. Very unfortunate. And it has all the signs of what bothers Indian sport, the way the federations control sport. You know it better than anyone else. So I won't go into too many details of what happened with the wrestling protest, but enough to say that the year started with the wrestling protest and it has ended with the wrestling protest. The new federation gets junked. Sanjay Singh gets elected, who's another stooge of Brij Bhushan, who's been accused of sexual exploitation. So all this muck and filth, and the way senior wrestlers have been humiliated, the way they quit, and on top of that, quite a few voices have emerged saying, "इनका तो time खत्म हो गया था, तो time खत्म हो गया था, तो आप बजरंग पुनिया और विनेश फोगाट जैसे wrestlers को आप humiliate करोगे, आप insult करोगे." What is the kind of message that is going out?
कंप्लीटली रॉन्ग मैसेज. अगर इनका टाइम खत्म हो गया तो फिर आप लोगों का कब खत्म होगा? ब्रिजभूषण जैसे लोगों का, या जबरदस्ती जब आप बत्रा जैसे लोगों को आप सिस्टम से निकालते हो, प्रोसेस से निकालते हो, बाकी लोगों को निकालते हो, उनका टाइम कब खत्म होगा? बट व्हाट रियली बॉदर्स मी, और जो चीज हर वक्त एक बॉदर करती है, इज दैट वी विन 100 medals at the Asian Games, we win so many test matches. We have the biggest IPL or the T20 league in the world. We are really gaining in football. We are really gaining in so many spaces. How much has this community of sport really come together to support the wrestlers? And sometimes in sport, you don't have to look whether I'm supporting them for the right or wrong cause. At the end of the day, these are Olympic medalists, Asian Games medalists, these are international champions. There is a reason why they're out there. And nobody in sport actually just comes out of the blue and says, I'm putting a tab on this guy because there was a sexual assault or there was a sexual stuff happening in the federation at that point of time. Nobody would want to do that. Nobody would want to say that. Yes, a lot of people said कि पहले क्यों नहीं बोला, तो कब बोलेंगे? उस समय जैसे वो sexual assault चल रहा था, मैं मोबाइल पे फोन पे जाके बोलूंगा and I'll give a live video on that. I mean, are you stupid? I think the government not backing it also was extremely sad. I mean, it also shows a lot of people in true light. But for me, the devastating part is the media got divided. Of course, the media completely got divided on this, and I think very few people stood with the wrestlers, and whoever stood with the wrestlers, I think, was exceptional, fantastic. But you wanted top-notch sports persons in this country to probably get onto that Twitter, on the Twitter that they make millions of dollars and say, I stand by them. It is not that you have to come to Jantar Mantar and stand with them. Just say, this is a world where a line can be extremely powerful. I mean, just imagine, I mean, during Donald Trump's time, if Meryl Streep could stand up and say that what is happening in the US is completely wrong, that coming from somebody who's probably got 20 or 24 nominations for the Oscar, if a woman like that can say that, what is so wrong with our top-notch sports persons from across disciplines to say that whatever is happening there is so wrong that it needs a course correction? All this is all that was supposed to be on Twitter or any of those goddamn social media handles that they have. So I think that was probably the saddest part about this WFI thing. And well, we hope 2024 brings in some form of good news on the wrestling front, and I think things need to change. I mean, you need younger people, and honestly, you need women at the helm now. You need more and more women coming into administration.
Okay, so that's a wrap. We'll leave it at that. So those were the top 10 sporting moments that defined 2023. We at NNI Sports have really fought hard and strived through the year to bring you those moments, to bring the analysis, to bring the perspective, and we'll continue to do that in a much bigger way in 2024. We possibly don't beat our drum enough like some of the other fledglings do, but dam hai hum mein, dekh lenge sabko. Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you.